YouTube is verified. We are live and on the air on both Twitch and YouTube. Welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It is halfway through the week, so Wednesday here, and we are mainly here to provide support and answer any questions about our products and services. If you have any of those, you can jump over to foolishtechshow.com. Be more than happy to talk to you directly about those. And otherwise, we'll spend our time just talking shop about random stuff. And if you'd like to participate in that, you can jump to that same IRC chat and we'll be happy to talk to you directly. Otherwise, keep in mind that all of the opinions expressed here are of the own individual and not of the company. So let's start her off. How's everyone doing today? That good, huh? Awesome.
No, doing well, thanks. How are you?
Awesome. I'm all right. So it looks like we got Phoenix in our chat there and adding some links. And I got a link that I want to start off with real quick, and we'll come right back to Phoenix's links there. Nick and Proctor are going to be sad about this news, although I don't think Proctor has his password anymore, so he's not going to be sad about it. But there may be many others about this. But apparently, Asheron's Call is going to be shut down on January 31st next year.
The original, is it?
Asheron's Call and Asheron's Call 2. Both will be shut down.
Oh, screw 2. I thought they shut that down years ago.
They're still running both of them, and what it looks like from what I can gather from the article, although not very detailed, is it seems like they've sold off the company Turbine is who owns both those projects.
They were sold to Microsoft long ago.
Oh, well, they're still under Turbine, it appears here.
The name, it's still Microsoft. It's been for years.
Well, any other project that was under the Turbine name has now been spun off under other companies, and it looks like Turbine is just going to end up shutting down. Apparently, they've only been doing support and maintenance for the past 2 years, and they considered moving to private servers, but that never happened, so they're just going to end up closing it out. But 17 years for a MMORPG, that is pretty good runtime.
I'd hate to mention how many of those years I actually had in real in-game time.
It appears that in general, MMOs are not as popular as they once were. Apparently, they listed World of Warcraft as the one that they did that benchmark off of, but I think there's other ones too. Eve has been gaining a lot of popularity, and I know they just went to a free model as well. So
yeah, my brother is a big player, or not a big player, but he's playing that again. We played that a while back and got away from it. The free aspect is good, but it's incredibly limiting. Even where we were previously in the game would not have been allowed under the free accounts. So, but that's sort of to be expected, I guess.
I had one client that I used to work for, and her entire life revolved around Second Life, and she never left the house or anything. And
is that still a thing?
Is that the one where you were like just a person roaming around a town or whatever and doing?
Pretty much, yeah.
Doing the same thing that normal people do.
Just going out to the store and buying furniture for your virtual apartment or house, depending on how
like Minecraft, but with graphics.
Yeah. So
basically, I had
the idea of a homeless person having
I had a tech that used to play that, and he spent a lot of time doing that.
Yeah. But it's kind of like I relate it to like a homeless person with a mansion in Second Life. I mean, obviously, a homeless person probably have some internet connectivity problems, but you know, it's that's what I think sometimes is done if
probably
for fantasy life.
So people feel like they may be lacking in some way in their real lives, and then they try to artificially reproduce that. But to me, the worth and value of that is at least there's fantasy and and a little bit of competition more so involved in an
Yeah.
RPG
Well,
type setting.
I think it's like that Bruce Willis movie, Surrogates. That's essentially what it is, except you don't get cool ass robots. You get in-game character, and that's how you're living your life.
Yeah, cheap.
I mean,
version.
it's an option for people. So, I mean, there's reasons for it too, and I wouldn't want to limit it to only people like paraplegics or paralyzed or various handicaps of that nature. I mean, they can still lead a somewhat normal life virtually. That's a good thing, I feel.
I don't even know if that's. Anyway, it doesn't matter what.
I mean, no game is good as an obsession where you spend all of your time on it. But I'm saying, as in a outside place where, say, I mean, if I ended up in a wheelchair tomorrow, I probably would not want to be going outside a lot anymore, and that would give me the sociable experience of being able to go outside and not feel like people are looking at me or wanting to help me and various things like that. So I can see the benefits of those. But anyway,
so
Ultima Online
Phoenix has a work-related question. Other than, I know this game conversation is great, but I think we should address a couple of minutes ago. Phoenix mentioned a potential bug in.
I vote we make Michael walk the plank, just for no other reason. If I have a vote, and if there's another choice, let's make him walk the plank.
I don't know what. This is not something that I've had reported before.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
You've not had it reported that you need to walk the plank?
No, he's talking about the error.
I know. I'm not done picking on him yet. Sorry. Be gone with you.
Invalid characters in ASCII block 85. How did you come about that? You just did an update and now it's giving you that message?
On the verifying screen, that was my interpretation of it, but see if he says anything else. Yep, confirmed it. Let me see if I have a copy that I can update, or am I already on the newest version? And this was going from 10 to 11, is that correct? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody else has reported that. Right, Tank Johnny? No report to that otherwise, right?
Not that I've seen.
Phoenix, if you're getting that on verifying settings, it's because you have something wrong with the INI in there.
So this would be INI? You mean
Well, I know he's working with the white label copy.
That's right. That's right. Okay. That makes sense.
So it's something in the either crypto prevent or bulk INI in there is incorrect or not set correctly. That's what's going on there. And if you want to send us that, we can take a look at it and see what might be the issue.
Yeah, Phoenix, what he means is to actually send us the INI files so we can peruse them and see why that was before you take any steps on your own to correct them. I mean, certainly you feel free to do whatever you want, but send them to us first if possible.
Correct.
I got a story.
Let's hit his other links before we do that.
Okay.
There's a full installation of Solus. What is Solus? On easy to boot now. Whatever it is, you can do it now. And then he also posted about the Cybereason. I don't know how to pronounce that company name.
Well, at any rate, they
their
have a technology
program.
similar to our HoneyPot, it looks like.
Yeah, they almost exactly mimic it, but we have a little bit better refined route of doing it, and we came out with it first.
Yeah, this would be the second instance of a piece of software after our first instance after ours of a piece of software, ransomware software, protection software having this feature. But we were the first. I'm glad somebody else though thinks that's a good idea. That's good to know.
But the other thing that they have in there is be careful, because while theirs is free for usage, it apparently takes the privilege of, if it detects something, it's going to upload it to their servers.
Mm-hmm. That's a concern, and also there's some limitations to it which we don't necessarily have either, explicitly that they mention in there. So.
And our HoneyPot feature is a premium feature, so you would have to have the premium edition to have that with ours. However, we do feel like it is a very well done added value, so you may want to look into that if you don't want your data randomly uploaded to people. So.
And which we do not do. There is only one part in Crypto Prevent, and that's certainly up to you, where you can submit a file to us for analysis and inclusion if you come across a new threat out there. But there is no data transfer that's not explicitly allowed by an end user in our softwares. Just FYI.
Of your files and information, we do have data transfer for activation purposes.
Oh, but I mean that's not user data. This is obviously, yeah, our internal data that we use is a different story, but the concern for people would be that
it's also not like tracking and statistics and things of that nature either, just so you know. It's just for activation of the subscriptions and product keys. So otherwise, I thought this was interesting. I'd seen the stories going around about people stripping their Volkswagens, their diesel Volkswagens, because the court has ordered Volkswagen to purchase back all of their diesel things that fell into that emissions cheating stuff that they were doing. And people have started like stripping it down. Well, one of them went really viral because he stripped everything you could while still making it a road legal vehicle. But this is a downside of going viral, because before his court order or his appointment date at the dealership to have him buy it back, Volkswagen already called him up and said, "Don't even bother. We're not buying that back." So I don't know how that goes with the fact that they have to buy it back, but
no, they have to buy it back only in its original sold condition. I mean,
no,
not necessarily condition. Obviously, there's wear and tear, and anything could have happened to it transpired. But you can't self-modify the vehicle.
well, it's getting into some legal terms here, because apparently the FTC consent order specifies that to be eligible, cars have to be operable, a term the document defines clearly as can be driven under its own 2-liter TDI engine power, which his car would still be drivable under that, and it still
That's
passes
the definition
majority
that they
of your
use?
road registrations.
That's the limit of
So
the
what did they
definition?
strip it for?
I mean, I'm assuming they took out the airbags and the seat, and well, I mean.
Well, no,
seats.
they stripped it because they're being forced to buy it back at a price of it, I guess. So that's the link I'm talking about. Sorry, I thought I'd already posted that, but yeah. So Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, because I guess in legalese he might have a case, but who knows? It's just I thought it was interesting that this story went viral yesterday, basically, and Volkswagen called him up and was like, "Nope, not doing it. We saw your article. This is what the problem with going viral is, that now people know about it." So, what was your story, Michael? Sorry, I forgot that you were going to say something.
Well, I mean, I had some stories I could throw out there. Microsoft had apparently signed a close to a $1 billion software deal with the military for tech support. I mean, that's one of the largest. Here, I'll.
Is that to get continued support with Windows XP?
It looks like.
I would assume that's probably included in that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And
but
more than likely why they went with Microsoft to do that.
Now, here's what I thought was interesting. There was a reference, and it was not in this article, actually. It was in another article on this that I was reading, that it plans to move 75% of their machines to Windows 8. I just thought that was a little odd story, given 10.
Yeah, why would they go to 8 when they have 10? Yeah.
But now I'm having trouble locating that little tidbit of information. But see, if you happen to come up with it, let me know. It might have been on the link. Here we go. I think it's on this link. Let me post this one as well. So, no. That was a deal in 2013. I misread it.
Oh, so they were moving them to Windows 8 in 2013?
Yeah, so I guess will this include them? Yeah, that does make more sense. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of details on this, and I bet we won't be able to get a whole lot of details on this except through maybe a Freedom of Information request, Freedom of Information Act request. But whatever they're doing, I think they, I mean, $1 billion. I mean, geez, $1 billion tech support contract. Wow. And this is not their first big win. You know, like I said, in the 2013, they had a very large one too. It wasn't quite the billion size, but it was up there. So if you think you're spending too much for Microsoft support, take a look at that article, I guess. There was also a concern about Twitter. It looks like it looks like all their top brass are like rats fleeing a sinking ship, or at least that's the way I've heard it being described, with everyone leading. I also saw a story that somebody's claiming they're at best valued at $10 a share, which is
people have been claiming fire about Twitter since Twitter came out, so
understandable. But now there's been a rash of management leaving, which a lot of times portends, you know, a big. I'm not saying they're going to close, but something's going to happen, some big shakeup. But
we'll see.
We'll see. Time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah, I doubt that that's going to cause any issues, but
well, if they change ownership or if it's sold to somewhere else, I mean, I don't know.
Nobody's going to buy it. It doesn't make any money.
Well, no, but they could buy it really cheap. I mean, as long as Twitter would accept it, possibly.
Maybe that's good.
The problem is Twitter's trying to sell itself for $1 billion.
Maybe they'll start making money now that most of their top management people have left, because that was probably also most of their top payroll.
What are they hemorrhaging, like $86 million a year too in cash? So
I don't know. But Twitter is a great service, so I'm sure it will be there, or it will be reinvented as something else.
Google's also sued for $3.8 billion in California.
You're talking about all those things, but you don't have any links to any.
All right, I'm sorry. Here's the link to that one, at least. So it looks like California has some pretty good laws protecting employees and allowing them to do a fair bit, and apparently Google's policies and the agreements they make you sign and everything else explicitly infringe upon that, although I would have thought that they would have looked in, their legal department would have looked into that. And this is filed by the same guy who filed a complaint with the National Labor Relations Board earlier this year over basically the same stuff. Now he's seeking $3.8 billion in damages. I've got to believe the only way that amount would be valid is if it takes into consideration the actual valuation of Google as a company in some way. Because clearly, I don't know how this person could have been harmed for $3.8 billion worth of damages, but maybe I don't understand law. I don't. I'm not a lawyer. I have no training whatsoever, so I'm just total layman. So please explain it to me. If
I was about to say maybe. I think that's a definitely you don't understand law.
But well, maybe you could clarify it then. How they're able to sue for $3.8 billion over confidentiality issue, but.
Because what I understand of law is it's stupid and ridiculous if you're talking about suing people. Take our president-elect, for example. Anyway, more important news is that there were over 100 bags of fake rice seized in Nigeria. And apparently there had been rumors that there is fake plastic rice all over the country. But the seizure has finally convinced custom controllers that this does exist. So I believe they're having a skyrocketing food prices. Plus, Nigeria has banned the import of rice to promote local production. So, man, how crappy would it be though to like boil some rice and it end up being plastic? Like you're just eating plastic. That's terrible.
Huh?
Yeah, apparently they're selling plastic rice in Nigeria, and
Well,
I'm saying, like,
they don't know. They've sent it off for chemical analysis, so they're not completely clear what it's made of. And it comes out too soft when it's cooked, and has a
It's not
faint
to throw on
chemical
people
odor.
at weddings. It's just
But
not for throwing on people at weddings.
no, this is like Nigeria.
Food.
Yeah, it's for food.
so,
Oh. Well,
so
does it have a
apparently it
nutritional value?
Well, that's what the lab I'm sure will determine, but that we don't have that information yet. But it looks like they say it's extraordinarily well done. In fact, they run the grains through your hands. You apparently can't tell, and they were only able to tell because when they had a large amount of it and they smelled it, it gave off a little bit of a artificial chemical odor, and then they went on to cook it and noticed the differences there. So, but as far as calling it plastic rice, because the chemical analysis hasn't been done yet, I'm really not clear that you can accurately say that. But
it probably is fake rice.
I mean, this article claims it's fake. It uses that term all throughout it, and uses the term plastic as well. But well, yeah, they seized it because they're not sure what it is. But just on the hypothetical here, what if, for instance, there is a special type of rice made that is not real rice, but it's supposed to be thrown at weddings for birds, and maybe this rice was then repackaged and resold as food for humans, because it's already being made anyway, and so we don't have to go and reinvent the wheel or anything like that. And maybe there's no harm. Maybe it's made of something that won't be a problem if we consume it. I mean, there's a whole lot of big ifs in there, so don't,
Right.
I'm not saying that that's necessarily the case.
Michael,
But
you stay on top of that story and let us know when you get some updates on it. Contact Nigeria if you have to.
the prince. I've got a prince there. He's supposed to.
I have a couple lines on a few different princes if you need to verify. get information.
This story is almost making me laugh because of Nigeria part of it.
But it is really sad because apparently there's a I would say a crisis there. Food prices are skyrocketing. That's never a good thing.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
So, and that's what is more concerning is the fact that maybe these people are not only paying extraordinary prices for food, but then not getting actual food.
It's definitely the consumers being at risk here in that country, and the fact that they won't allow the import of it means that there's probably going to be all sorts of scams like this, you know. And
I didn't think rice would grow well in Nigeria.
Well, I don't know, but apparently it's possible, and there are also alternatives to rice, but rice is one of those things. Rice and beans are one of those two things that are kind of staple of civilization, and without them, a lot of people die. So, because everything else ends up being too expensive. But
wasn't it last year that the USPS was like scared about going bankrupt and going out of business and
the
stuff?
Postal Service, they do that every year. They have much money too.
No, well, that's not the story this year. The story this year is apparently they're making ornaments that display package tracking updates. It can even tell you when your recipient opens the box.
Okay, that's a little creepy on how they accomplish that, but
only a limited trial this year.
Okay, so is this a potential way for them to make money by selling these things?
I suppose, but yeah, that's what I'm wondering is the creepiness factor of it, and is this really something that's needed?
Yeah, and listen, if I open up, let's say, just hypothetically, I open up, or I have some intimate goods delivered to myself. I'm opening up in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. or something like that. You mean the Postal Service will be notified of this and what my package is and have all that information?
It's essentially.
Isn't that like opening up the mail? Isn't that like opening up the mail?
What I'm reading in the article, it's essentially like having the tracking updates you get, except for it being opened. And I'm assuming they have some sort of special box that when you seal it, it activates, and then when it gets opened, it reactivates.
I'm just a little curious that some of this could be the equivalent of the postman opening up your mail and looking at it.
Yeah, but what I just said would completely negate that fact.
I guess, but there's a lot of and we got to also trust that they implement that perfectly too, and that there's just no additional information being passed to those systems. That's always on IoT and probably has some security holes in it.
What other information are they going to send other than the box was opened?
Well, whatever they're going to use it, they're going to use some way to. Well, they're going to have some way to identify what that package was or contents of that package, and that's what.
They don't have to. Why?
Well, they don't have to, but I mean that's.
Why would they even think that they would need to?
Well, maybe I guess I don't know.
It's okay, Michael. When you send your pounds of marijuana, the postman's not going to open it, but you'll know by an ornament that your minions were able to get their deliveries out for Christmas. I want to know if this thing keeps working, if it only works during the holidays. Because that would be because afterwards you don't get a tree, you just got an ornament laying around. That's kind of strange.
I'd still like to see whether or not the post office has done anything to generate additional revenue or cut expenses so it can remain viable without having to make the cost of stamps.
Obviously not in research and development. Made no cuts there.
Pretty clear. Who runs the department? Who runs the Postal Service? The government department?
I don't know. But now that I know they have a research and development team, that would be the job I would be applying for if I applied for the Postal Service. Anyway, moving on from that, we may not even have to wait for our president-elect to come in for us to start feeling terrible about it, because apparently FCC's remaining commissioners are promising to gut net neutrality as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's pretty clear when the person that will be the head chief of the FCC doesn't believe in net neutrality.
Yeah, but this is prior to that person even coming in.
Oh yeah, because yeah, well, that's really. Oh, let me see that. I gotta read that.
Apparently, they do not like the fact that the order contained imposition of unnecessary and unjustified burdens on the providers.
Yeah, these are just the GOP portion of the FCC.
Yep. So they're gonna already try to start.
So yeah, so I mean, this is okay. First of all, that letter should have never been sent because it's like predicting the future and telling them it's already here before anything has actually happened. I mean, really? I mean, they're basically just giving them the cannon fodder that they'll need to. Oh, jeez, that's horrible. It's not how politics and government and stuff should work.
Nope.
I mean,
they're gonna be how it's
just,
gonna work.
They're openly basically negotiating, removing consumers' rights as far as the internet goes. And it should have made sense considering that they didn't put a stop to any of those companies given the discounts for video content from a certain provider that they work with, you know, Verizon and all those other things. But you're going to find out that it's not just going to be that, because that'll be the only place you'll be able to get your video content now, because everybody else will be either too expensive or just blatantly outright denied. And again, you know, whole swaths of websites could that could apply to whole swaths of websites.
That's
So they're going to get to choose where you go to get your information online and how you receive it and from what sites that's done. That's done.
Yep.
You're not going to have the choice to go to a conservative or a liberal website. You're not going to have the choice to go to a content provider and get whatever
people
movies
predicting the future before it's actually here and acting like it's here. I thought this was another interesting one. So someone was not satisfied with having a drone, and I gotta say, if I had a Canon, working Canon laying around, I would probably try this as well, even though I would still prefer my drone. But they shot their GoPro out of a Canon at 84 miles per hour and got the footage back before it crash landed and died.
That must have been a rush to download that information in time.
What was it, Johnny?
That would be awesome.
Yeah. To own a Canon, heck yeah. From the YouTube video, though, it looks like it's just one of the, like a potato cannon style. So not a real cannon. Yeah.
Oh, did you do the drone? Did you do the drone story of the day about? I know. Well, that's
France?
Yeah, the France thing. Yes.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of France, but go ahead.
So apparently France is going to try to deliver some mail with drones to see how that works for them to, I'm assuming, save costs.
I thought they already did.
Oh, did they already do it? Oh, there was 8. It was in within 9 miles. They'd be flying it. Yeah, they did already do it. It was 600 hours of flight time. Small packages, 1.5 kilograms. This was done back in 2015.
The first federal postal service to use drones to deliver mail.
Wow.
And you know what? That was not the interesting drone news I thought you were going to bring up. I thought you were going to bring up this one. Let me find it.
Well, I mean, hey, I mean, that's a big thing for a country's mail delivery.
But oh man, got too many links. I'll just have to look for it again.
Is there another drone video? Let me see. I'll try to look for it too. If so
Here we
the I'm working on wireless charging
Alright,
for
this
electric
is
vehicles.
this is the one. This is the one.
Okay.
Because if you didn't think 7-Eleven was awesome enough already,
Oh, Slurpees from the sky.
they now deliver things by drone, and they've done 77 deliveries so far in the state of Nevada.
Nevada. Nevada, no less. Oh wow, that's great. That's really great.
Why is Nevada so funny?
Oh, just no. So probably be.
Nevada.
I was thinking of some things.
They
I don't
would get
say
drone
anything inappropriate,
deliveries.
but there is Nevada does some things that some other states don't do, and I was just thinking about how they could integrate drones in those things as well. You know, whether it be.
Well, good. I'm glad you stopped then. But yeah, so 7-Eleven by drone, because it's too hard to go to 7-Eleven. I always think these teardowns are cool, but I don't want to spend too much.
Oh, the AirPod teardown.
Yep, they tore down the AirPods.
Yeah,
They're incredibly tiny.
You can't put that back together, from what I
No.
understand.
Most of those teardown videos, you can't put things back together.
Yeah, but they do give them a rating on that, though. It's my understanding. Their ability to be taken apart and put back together, but it obviously fails in that. But like you say, I imagine most of them do.
Yeah. I thought this was a pretty cool one too. Someone created a life-size working. Oh, have fun with that, Phoenix. That's not a be right back either. Be back maybe is what that one would be.
Yes.
Wow.
Remember to back up first.
Apparently.
Wait.
Oh,
I was in the middle of a sentence
Sorry.
before Phoenix
Yeah, good point.
distracted me with
We-
that. This is a life-size and working Iron Man suit. And it's
That's
got
not the mech I was talking about.
46 motors and 567 powered parts in it. It's freaking awesome.
Oh wow. Oh no, this is not what I was.
No, this is a way cooler mech suit than anything that's been created.
That's real?
Does it help with mech stuff? I doubt
Can you actually get in it?
it.
Or is this just showing it off?
I am not sure.
Oh my gosh, it costs a lot of money, doesn't it?
I would imagine so.
Just shy of $360,000.
Yep.
Oh wait. There's not quite enough room for someone to actually climb inside the armor, which is bad when it costs that much. Yeah. This was actually, I believe this story was out a few days ago, but it is impressive to watch that though. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, if that had the ability to actually be used or actually have a function, I would say it compares very favorably to that mech article that I sent. But that mech article does have industrial and commercial potential functionality, or probably industrial functionality.
The one you talked about on the show previously?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is what I was gonna. Oh shoot. Oh crap! Now I've done it. This is one I was gonna throw out. Yeah, like a lot of people are Mac fans out there with their laptops, of course, and their desktops, and they're apparently getting pretty irritated over Apple's seeming focus on their top source of revenue being the iPhone. And they've already promised to release new models, and they've made very impassioned presentations to their customers regarding what they will be doing in the future, but they kind of have yet to deliver on
We had a big story
Those
today about the
promises.
Mac.
Oops, sorry, I had an autoplay video.
Isn't that a regular thing with Apple though? Is they get a brand
It didn't
and
used to be.
and then
It didn't
yeah, it was.
used to be
Yeah, it
that
was.
they
It
had
was
more
in
refreshes to
it
their
was in
models,
the,
didn't they?
It was in the Steve Jobs movie.
But
When he came out with the iMac, they pushed out the Apple II. And the entire team. That basically was the basis for the iMac. The only thing really the iMac did better was it looked prettier.
But what I'm talking about is when you refresh your product line. In other words, Microsoft comes out with Surfaces on a relatively regular basis and updates their models every year with the new Intel offerings and new graphics offerings and all that stuff. So there's a constant progression of technology, and that hasn't been the case with the Apple. So they'll put out one, and years will go by before the next model is introduced, where almost every other one will.
They're trying to push it out. I feel like they're probably trying to get out of the laptop industry. They see a future of people only using tablets.
Well, I mean, that's contradictory to some of the promises they've recently made to try to assuage the users who still want to hold on to their more traditional platforms. Non-iOS platforms, I should say.
Yeah, but I mean, essentially what you're going to end up with is a Mac that is just a tablet with a keyboard attached to it. And they're just going to say that's a Mac now. But they're not going to call it a Mac because it won't be a Mac. It'll be an i something. And that's how they're going to push it out like they did with the Apple II in that movie.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the best comparison, but I have to watch the movie. I haven't seen it, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. So this is another video of.
That was the second movie, not the one that praised him, the one that showed how much of a jerk he was.
Hold on. Home robot. So this was a video taken at the launch event for the Zenbo. It's a cute little thing. Apparently, you can watch that robot sing a Christmas song there. This is their home robot. I don't know what it's supposed to do exactly, but let me look for if I can get
drain your bank account.
Yeah, well, that's probably one thing it can do. Zenbo. I'm gonna try to find a link. Oh, not Zenbook. Zenbo.
I had talked about it way back when they announced it at one of the trade shows.
Yeah,
it did not look like it did much.
So there's their official site.
Oh,
it's
well,
cute.
what's funny we watched. Johnny had never seen Eastbound and Down before, so we just actually finished that series. Highly recommend that series. It's a great show. But in there, he purchased a robot in the 4th season, and he said, "This is my little Yul Brenner." And I was like, "Man, why does that sound so familiar?" So I looked it up, and he named his robot after the original Westworld movie.
Yeah.
Guy in Black.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Glad you put the 2 and 2 together on that one. He was a big actor, Yul Brenner. He starred in. I think he had quite a big career, spanning the 40s and through the 70s.
I think, but the thing about that was impressive was that their final episode came out in 2013. So he made that reference over 6 years or over 3 years ago. So far prior to the Westworld that we know of today.
So he was born 1920. Vladivostok, Russia. He died of lung cancer in 1985 at the age of 65.
I'm glad you went into Yul Brenner's life, but back on tech-related news here, the Amazon Echo apparently has a new skill. Notion teaches your Amazon Echo to read your emails, reply, and interact in real time. Is that worrisome? I would say so. I probably would not recommend having something like that. Because now, not only are you having Amazon have all that data, but this third party is also having access to all that data. And
I have
considering Amazon doesn't have email servers,
I have a relative who works for a large banking firm. I'm sure most of you probably may have a credit card of theirs in your wallets, but they were talking about how they were going to have a what do you call it for Alexa? What are they called? Skills? No, not skills. What is it? What's that word you used? But there's
yes, skills.
Yeah, skills. So they're doing that so you'll be able to apparently look at your um, account information through that. And I immediately had some security concerns. Now, I'm sure they're probably doing their due diligence as far as protection of the flow of your personal data. But when you're asking your Echo or Alexa or whatever to tell you your credit card information, like balance and send a payment and do other things like that, it would have to know a lot of credentials about you, and I would be concerned a little bit about that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I probably would not recommend it.
Yeah.
However, on the other side of things, apparently there is a website that can peer-to-peer files just through the web browser. So essentially what you do is you select a or many files. It automatically creates a zip of those files if you select many, and then creates a link that you give out to someone, and they open it in their web browser, and it establishes a peer-to-peer connection, so it does not go through an intermediate server, and transfers directly to them. I haven't tried this, but my first concerns would be the firewall implications and upload speed, because obviously if you don't have the ability to control your upload speed, it's going to consume all of your upload speed. So
I don't think those are concerns. Those would be handled the same way that cloud sync stuff, cloud storage sync stuff work, I imagine.
but going through a web page,
I mean, I really don't see, no, I don't see that to be too much of an issue. I mean, there's legal implications, for
the
people involved in
firewall though.
sharing. Through the firewall, all that should need to be open is port 80 or whatever it is the freaking web traffic is coming in on.
Yeah, but is it opening a port 80 so they connect directly to your port 80? How does it
No,
not go
that's not
through?
gonna. No. It's gonna work something like TeamViewer would work. Um, where there would be something that's negotiating the connection on the back end. It would still be a point-to-point at the ultimate delivery end, but it'd be something to facilitate it to remove that necessity. It would never allow, if you had to change something in your firewall for a web page to work, that would never fly. So they have to have a way to mitigate that.
For it to upload to someone directly, that's what I'm talking about. That's one of my concerns, is how are they managing that?
No, what?
If they're not using an intermediate server to transfer your files.
They're not. They just have to facilitate it. Just like, for instance, TeamViewer. It's not like the TeamViewer traffic doesn't go up to TeamViewer and then comes back down to us. TeamViewer just facilitates the connection for those two computers.
Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure it does go through TeamViewer server.
I don't know.
But the thing there is that I don't see how you're able to get a file out, because you're not allowing HTTP out or anything like that. I mean, I don't know the details behind it, but this article I read didn't have many of those details, so I was concerned about those things. But it looks like an interesting idea if it is truly peer-to-peer. You don't have to rely on a cloud server or service to provide that for you. Hey, and this new malware that's out there may make you want to hang around ATM machines. Apparently, there is a new Alice malware that makes ATMs spit out cash. They would need access to the ATM's port, and it does include RDP support. But man, if you were just walking past an ATM and it starts spitting out cash, would you not be entitled to keep that cash, or would they use the camera and track you down and try to get it back?
Well, the honest thing would be to return it.
It's yeah. If you know, again, if a bag of money falls off the back of a truck, you can't just take it and walk away. You have to return it.
Is that true?
I mean, you don't have to, but you'll go to jail if they figure that out. It's
Why?
as if you stole it. It's not yours. You're stealing. I mean, it just be.
So
you
if
know,
you
so-
found $1 on the street, you'd have to find the person and return it?
No.
What's the
But
difference?
because it was.
If you just
It was
find
in a bag. The difference is it was in a bag marked. Those bags are marked. So
if
yeah.
you just find, well, I
If
mean,
you just found a stack of cash sitting on the side of the road and said, "Take me," yes, that would be totally fine.
well, I mean, this is just a bunch of cash sitting in front of an ATM.
But you know what came out of the ATM.
How do you know? Maybe the person got a whole bunch of money and they just dropped it and then left.
That's a good question. Again, we need a legal counsel for this.
And like if just something random fell off a truck and you found it on the side of the road, you have to.
If you didn't know,
Track
if
that
there was
person
no,
down.
if you didn't know, I'm not even sure. Well, maybe. Wait, let's see. I'll try to figure this out.
If you
Found
find
money,
something
what are my
on the
legal
street,
obligations?
it's usually yours.
Full of $100 bill. Okay. So a woman, 75-year-old woman, returned $100,000. Let's see. Every state has laws requiring the return of money or property if it is possible to identify the owner. As a result, if you find a wallet full of cash and an ID, you cannot legally pocket the cash because the owner is recognizable. The same holds true for a bank envelope full of money, especially if it has a receipt in it, a purse, or even an abandoned vehicle. If the owner is not easily identified, most states still require that you contact local law enforcement and give the money to them for a period of time to allow the owner an opportunity to claim it. Should the rightful owner fail to surface after a certain period of time, every state's laws will allow the finder to take the money as his or her own. Doing otherwise is considered theft, and the reasoning should be obvious. Everyone ever accused of theft would just claim that they found the stolen property if there was not this legal obligation to try to return lost things to their owners.
I just found it. So anyway, fine, you were right on that. But for people out there holiday shopping, if you're thinking about getting someone a crossbow, you might want to think twice, because apparently this crossbow in particular has been recalled for randomly firing at people. Now, I would assume that it just means it's randomly firing at any time. It's not like targeting people and then randomly firing at them. But the clickbait title.
That sounds like a horrible Stephen King book.
Yeah.
It does. It does. It's so typical for his plots. Oh.
Like they could have just left it at randomly firing, but they had to say randomly firing at people.
It's 320 feet per second. That's a pretty high rate of speed. That could.
I would not want to be shot by a crossbow.
It's deadly. In other words, it is deadly. So if it were to go off when you didn't want it
Well,
to,
they weren't made to tickle people.
there's a likelihood that they will die. I understand that, but this isn't like your Nerf crossbow or something like that. That you know, if you haven't taken a look at the link yet, this is, you know.
Yeah, but
this is
apparently
a
this
real-
one fires even when the safety is engaged.
Oh,
and that's
whoa,
actually
whoa.
what they're particularly mentioning is the fact that this fires unexpectedly when safety engage.
Okay, that's a whole new level of.
Get a free repair, and that was posted as a tweet by the USCPSC.
Which is the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission.
Yes. But see how useful Twitter is?
Well, it'll get the word out about that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm not saying it doesn't have a use, but that better not be the only means that they use to notify those customers of that issue. If you can just get on Twitter, put out one tweet, and that fulfills the legal obligation of customer notification when you have a product that can kill them, there's something wrong with that.
Well, the company didn't even do that. It was just the safety commission that did that.
Okay, well, that just hopefully was just on top of what will also otherwise be done to notify those consumers, because not everyone is on Twitter.
Yeah. I thought this was pretty interesting as well. Uber, even with their I don't need a permit, California, go suck it policy, has said that there are a lot of safety concerns regarding autonomous vehicles and bike lanes. So vehicles have issues with navigating around and legally interacting with bike lanes. So that's kind of extremely dangerous. They say it's down to programming issues rather than human error. And their cars are still manned by a human driver at all times. And that car that ran the red light was being operated by the driver. So the driver actually ran the red light.
You talking about Uber?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good to know. But Uber did admit a problem with their bike lane crossing.
That's what I just talked about.
Okay.
I thought this was a pretty neat GIF, and it's a perfect way, as they say, to end 2016. A fireplace full of burning Samsung Galaxy Note 7s. I hope they were not in the US when they did that, because the EPA would tear them a new one for doing that. If it's real, even. But also, that brings up a funny thing. I saw it first, and then, of course, it's been spread across the internet. But it was on the internet first when I saw it, so I can't claim I saw it or made it up. But if you have kids, a great way to keep them in line during the holidays, if you celebrate a gift-giving holiday, is to wrap a bunch of presents, and then if they act up, throw those presents in the fire. The key here is that the presents are actually just empty boxes. So you put a whole bunch of empty boxes wrapped up, and then if they act up, you throw it in the fire. And then they better turn around real quick and start acting right, or else all their presents are going to be burned before Christmas. I would call a bluff on that.
Hey, okay.
I would like if they burn all the presents, and if I still got presents on Christmas or not. Or if they were like, you were too bad, you didn't get any presents.
Brantley, to clarify on an earlier thing I mentioned, according to TeamViewer, and again, this is according to TeamViewer,
Mhm.
their file transfers, and I haven't found the part about their actual screen sharing aspect of it, but their file transfer is peer-to-peer.
How do they negotiate that?
I don't know, but at least that portion of it is peer-to-peer, and if that's peer-to-peer, theoretically, they could make everything peer-to-peer.
Because I mean, even the BitTorrent sync data goes through their server if you don't have your ports open.
I mean, that's a statement on their, I'll show you, this is the link.
Let's see.
Apparently there's some German white paper from TeamViewer discussing it, and that had mentioned a figure of 70% of the connections that TeamViewer does are strictly peer-to-peer with no data being observable by them. The other 30% of it, and I'm not sure what clarifies for the other 30%, but those connections do involve them. So I think what they have in place is a primary system for peer-to-peer, and there's probably some sort of fallback that occurs under certain conditions that does
So
involve their
probably the
systems.
people that don't have UPnP enabled are using the fallback methods.
I don't know the answer to that.
I would assume so. Because that's because UPnP opens ports for you. And you have to have an open port to connect to something.
I understand. I've never turned on UPnP on any device that I've ever had.
Well, you have to turn it off the majority of the time, except for our internet gateways.
Yeah, well, I guess I've gotten used to that, so you're right about that. Though, yeah, with other devices, I've always had to turn it off from the get-go, which I always do, including for the router I replaced at my parents' house. So I see what you're saying, but I don't think it's that simple. That's just my off-the-cuff response to that. But I'll look into it further, see if I can get more details.
And considering their majority of their connections are probably free personal home usage, I could probably say that probably 70% of their traffic does go through UPnP. And then that other 30% is probably all the corporations and stuff that have it locked down.
I mean, I agree with those figures on UPnP being out there, but I don't know if there's a direct correlation between that and their ability to make this happen. There is, although based on that white paper, and it's an interpretation because obviously I don't read German. Okay, so, but I'll try to find some more details if I can and share it with you guys if I can find that out. Give maybe people a little bit more confidence in that, or
I don't
not.
see how there's no way to get around a firewall. That's what a firewall is for. If you don't have an open port on your firewall, then it can't have a connection from the outside world.
But they can encrypt the data and transfer it over port 80.
But that wouldn't be P2P. It would have to go through someone that had port 80 open so that that other person could connect to port 80 and receive it. Like you keep just saying, oh, it's just going over web traffic, but web traffic isn't allowed out of your computer. Like if you set up a web server right now, you wouldn't be able to serve web pages without opening a port on your firewall.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. But what if TeamViewer was simply a relay for the port 80 traffic?
So they're taking the data and they have their port 80 open and the other computer is connecting to their relay. There's no way to just, someone has to have a port open. And if you have a port open, then yes, I can believe that it is going straight peer-to-peer. If you do not have a port open or the ability to have ports open, such as disabling UPnP, then there's no way to do it without having it go through a relay server and your data and stuff go through a relay server.
Got to roll.
Okay.
Would you tell Proctor I'll be back in a couple hours.
Okay.
Before y'all knock off, please tell Proctor I'll have that bit for the announcement to him later, if that's okay. Is it okay?
Sure. We wanted to try to get it out as soon as possible, but yeah, I doubt it's ready to go out right now. So yeah, you're
okay. I need 2 to 2.5 hours, and then 20 minutes of finishing the typing.
Okay.
That's okay. All right.
Right up. Cool.
Brantley, what about UDP hole punching? I think that might be a way to circumvent what you're talking about.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Other news, if you want to have the MacBook Pro's Touch Bar on an iPad, they now have an app for that. And last thing for today, because we have already gone past our hour limit anyway, is here is the Sahara Desert covered in snow. Not completely covered, but still more snow than they probably get.
There's an article on the hole punching. But and there's other places other than Wikipedia.
You don't have to have. This is just talking about how it gets through NAT. It doesn't talk about having that port open or not.
But you can send a UDP request out and have the other person directly respond to it. I don't think it. I don't know, I'll look into it a little bit more. We'll see.
Okay. But yeah, I think that should wrap us up for today. So enjoy the snow in the desert, and we will be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. for a Thursday show. And again, we are mainly here for providing support for our products and services. And if you have any questions about those, you can always contact our support by any means. We'll be happy to talk to you through any of those venues. But if you'd like to wait and talk to us directly tomorrow, we'll be back here at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to do so. Hope everyone has a great rest of their week, and hope it has been a great week so far. We will see you tomorrow.
Take care. Bye, internets.
Bye, Internet.